I was speaking with one of my neighbors about just neighbors, what you want in your neighbors and how you don't get to pick. And she made the point. She was like, well, I'd rather have somebody that really takes care of their lawn than and I don't mind if they're an asshole.
Oh.
Yeah, I disagree. I'd rather have somebody who doesn't take care of the lawn and isn't an asshole.
Sure.
She's like, yeah, but maybe they just keep to themselves. I'm like, how many assholes do you know that keep to themselves? Quiet, please. You know what makes them an asshole? That they don't keep to themselves, right? There are zero assholes out there that keep to themselves.
2.
Company presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense Season 2, Episode 13. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Jill.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time, we'll catch up on some news stories we didn't have time for when the news broke.
That's a lot of stories.
But that we still think are important. It's Discover National Parks Day. Actually, Fortnight. Discover National Parks Fortnight is observed in the UK for 14 days from April 4th to 18th each year. The celebrations highlight the importance of national parks and the role they play in conserving our environment and encouraging people to take up outdoor activities. There is no dearth of national parks in the UK, and they are well maintained by the government. Locals and tourists visit these national parks not only to trek, but also to take their fill of nature. The national parks are a perfect refuge from busy city life.
Do you know why the UK had to change the name from Discover National Parks Fortnight to Discover National Parks Day?
Why? Because it's not 2 weeks anymore, now it's just a day?
No, they got sued by Epic.
Of course they did.
Epic was just suing everybody. They're like, we own Fortnite. And they're like, we've been saying this word for 300 years. Like, we don't fucking care.
It's also World Rat Day. April 4th is a day to dispel the bad vibes rats suffer. Rats are amazing animals with some incredible talents and qualities. They've suffered a bad reputation since the bubonic plague, and people usually despise rats for stealing food and spreading disease. Those who have pet rats know they're intelligent animals who are fun to be with. They need attention, care, and love, just like CJ.
Exactly.
In 2002, a group of pet enthusiasts started World Rat Day to create acceptance of these wonderful animals, allowing them to be part of our everyday lives.
So basically what you're saying is it's like they've suffered a bad reputation since the bubonic plague, and the answer is, what are rats in the French, Alex? Is that basically who got a bad rap?
I don't think it was the rats that were actually perpetuating the bubonic plague. I think it was the fleas on the rats.
Yeah, but the fleas were on the rats. You're not going to go comb the fleas out of the rats. You just kill the fucking rats. I mean, they are very cute.
Cute and very smart animals. Very similar DNA, by the way, to squirrels. Only a squirrel will live for 10 to 15 years and a rat will live for 3. I don't know what the difference is other than just their DNA says you're done now.
One's got a fuzzy tail. Wait, squirrels live for 10 years?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that makes me sad for reasons I'll tell you shortly.
Do you have some squirrels in your yard?
I did. I accidentally killed one.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What happened? Do we want to hear the story or is this maybe something that we want to talk about alone?
Look, you're not going to like any of this. See, I celebrated World Rat Day by literally eliminating one.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No, well, first of all, I didn't know it was World Rat Day. Not that that would have changed the outcome.
Sure.
But I was just minding my own business, barbecuing in my backyard, as you know I like to do.
Yeah.
And this little fucker was peeking out at me from under my deck.
Uh-oh.
At that moment, it clicked. Something had been chewing on my deck furniture and had eaten up a bunch of cushions on my deck furniture. And I didn't know what it was. And one of my neighbors was like, oh, it's a rat. And I'm like, oh, clearly now I have rats. It was a brown rat. I think they're called Norwegian rats, Norway rat.
It's lost if it's in your part of the world.
Well, it had a little map.
And a little accent.
I didn't know what it was doing with the map.
Accent.
It had a little accent. Yeah, totally. And it was complaining about how warm it was.
Sure.
So, yeah. So anyway, $2.38 later on Amazon, and a tablespoon of peanut butter, I was free of one rat.
Oh, my.
Sadly, that's the good news. Very effective at the rat.
Is this the part where I ask you how your week's going?
Yeah. Well, I just told you the part about the rat.
I'm so sorry.
This is where I made my terrible flaw, and I was really not planning on telling you this story.
Okay.
The rat trap worked surprisingly well, right? It just breaks its neck.
Well, they do.
Dead.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't want to pick it up. By the way, it ate the bait within 90 minutes and was deceased.
Wow.
I didn't want to pick it up that night. So the next morning I got to clean it up, and the bait that was left on the trap after it was killed was gone.
Because the other rats came and ate it.
Exactly. Me being the genius that I am, I'm like, oh, some other rat came and ate the rest of the bait.
Right.
Let's reset the trap.
Or some other animal.
Well, look at you, Mr. Smarty Pants. So I reload the trap. And by the way, up until this point in my life, I have never operated a mouse or rat trap in my life. I've only seen them in the cartoons.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Really?
I've never done this because those things are fucking petrifying, right? It'll take your hand off.
No, of course. It's this giant spring that'll cut
And I
your...
got 2 little kids, and I had to do a whole conversation with them about do not touch the rat trap or you'll
stay
lose a
away.
finger. I did the whole bend your finger in like you're a shop
Right.
teacher, showed them that. They laughed. I was like, do not fuck with this thing. So anyway, I put the trap back out the next day thinking I'm going to catch me some more fucking rats, right? What could possibly go wrong? A couple hours later that day, there is a squirrel now stuck in the trap.
Aww.
And I am mortified because my children have named the squirrels Jumpy and Dan. Those are the names of the 2
And
squirrels.
now there's just Dan.
I actually prefer the name Jumpy, so I told them it was Dan that got stuck in the trap. And the poor guy wasn't dead. He was mortally wounded, and I had had to fucking kill them, and I was not happy about that. I will say I feel a little better about it today, as a matter of fact, because
this is the worst open to this show we've ever had.
I know. My God, why did we do it? Because it had to be fucking World Rat Day. It just had to be World.
Okay,
I'm gonna bring it home. I promise I'm gonna bring it home. I every time I'm one of those weirdos. Every time I get fuel in my vehicles, I check their oil, right? Like what you're supposed to do, but nobody does but me.
As one should, of course.
Totally. And I happened to notice in a car that I don't drive, there was a little pile of leaves on top of the oil filter housing. There's no way for them to get there.
Somebody's making a nest.
Yeah, that's not good. I look closer, and sure enough, one of the sensor wires right where that is was chewed through. And I'm like, mother effer rat. So now I don't feel so bad. And I'm going to celebrate it in my own way as a World Fuck You Rats Day. That's what I'm going to call it.
That's a different way of looking at it.
On a happier note, sort of continuing this week's theme of killing things.
Okay.
I took my
What a nice theme.
I took my 2 kids and father to Death Valley for spring break. So I wanted to keep Death Valley, or keep, death in the theme. Fortunate or unfortunate, depending on your view.
I thought you were killing your kids or your father.
Totally. Well, I brought back the same number of children and parental units that I took with me. So
Good.
I feel like I'm doing something right. We had a great time. Our first time in Death Valley. The weather was basically perfect. My kids had a blast. They each did, like one day, these 2 each did 5 miles of hiking each.
Wow.
Which is insane given that they have these little short, stumpy legs.
Sure.
So anyway, but we went to a bunch of touristy spots, including Badwater Basin, which is like, it's over 280 feet below sea level, which is the lowest spot of dry land in North America. Super cool. They have way up on the side, by the way, if you ever go to Badwater Basin, notice on the side of the mountain there is a sign 300 feet up that says sea level.
Well, that's so great.
And it's pretty cool to see that, just to imagine
that's so great.
A football field underneath the level of the ocean.
Now, did you camp, or did you stay at like Inn at Death Valley or whatever that place is called?
No, we camp. I mean, it's a soft camp. We bring a travel trailer, and we sleep in that, but it's still camping. You still get filthy. The kids are on the dirt.
Perfect.
But it's in a trailer, so it's
all you're
cheating.
looking for.
There were 40-mile-an-hour winds at night.
Wow.
I did not want to be in a tent. The people that were in a tent, I felt bad for. A lot of wind. We had a little bit of rain. It was nuts. It was hard. I mean, it was hard to walk in.
The full experience.
Oh yeah, totally full. But we went there in April, or I guess late March, before it became 1,000 degrees. Like I would not want to go there. In July.
You do not go in the summer.
No, you avoid it. Anyway, it was fun. We had a great time. How about you?
Baseball was back. I had a great time at the Dodgers season opener. It was about a week ago. Josh Groban sang, which was super fun. We had a flyover with 3 F-15s and 1 KC-135 Strato tanker.
It's basically like a giant mobile gas station in the air.
That's remarkable to see them fuel other planes like that.
Well, you know what's crazy about that? When those other planes refuel in the air, they have to get close enough first to tap their credit card.
Do they?
They've got to tap their card. Yeah,
I didn't know
and
it
they
was
got to push the
tap to pay.
button. Like, do you want 89 or 91? And they push the button, and then they can refuel. The other bitch is, it's only $100 at a time. So as it fills up the plane, they got to retap. Yeah, it's a real pain in the ass.
So like every inch they fly, they're going to have to refuel.
Totally. It's funny how that works.
I think most people don't realize how much fuel it takes to have a plane be in the air. It takes an enormous amount of fuel.
Those strato tankers can carry like 200,000 pounds of fuel, which is absolutely bonkers.
Anyway, so the Dodgers have begun their season, which was super fun. They actually started their season in Seoul, South Korea against the Padres. They had 2 games, and they came back, and we had played some spring training games, and then we opened our season.
So bizarre.
On the 3rd game of actual official play, we beat the Cardinals 7-1.
Now, I'm going to do my best here to stay awake after asking you this question.
Yeah.
Other than the pitch clock, what else have they added or changed? Anything else?
Pitch clock got shorter.
Got shorter, like physically smaller?
It was 20 seconds. It's now 18.
Does that make it more exciting?
The timing of a baseball game now feels about like an NBA game.
So still boring as shit.
I'm not bored at either one, but I'll take your word for it.
You ever been to a hockey game?
I have.
They don't stop moving. There's no stopping.
No, they don't. That's
You know how
true.
many timeouts you get as a hockey team? 1. You get 1. That's it. You can use it whenever you want, but you get only 1. It's like the Henry Ford of timeouts. You have as many as you want as long as it's only 1.
There's a guy in baseball, Bill James. He's the guy who created sabermetrics, and if you see the movie Moneyball, it's all about Bill James and his theories.
Love that film.
Bill James talks about getting rid of the balk rule in baseball. So the ball is always alive. You never have a dead ball.
Okay.
Because in baseball, you mostly have a dead ball.
Sure.
We're all standing around waiting for something to happen to bring the ball to life for a few seconds. Yeah, it's kind of a cool idea.
What about doing that in football as well?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard him talk about football.
The ref's holding the ball and just gets fucking steamrolled by some of the team to try to get it back. I think that'd be great. We should pitch that for the XXFL.
Let's get to our headline, shall we?
Yeah, we should.
Amazon gives up on no checkout shopping in its grocery stores.
Oh, no.
This story broke my heart.
No. Don't tell me it's not so.
I want this to be not true because I loved to the no checkout shopping. Amazon has decided to give up on its Just Walk Out program that lets customers leave its brick and mortar grocery stores without a formal checkout process. Instead, it's switching fully to dash carts where customers can scan products as they toss them in their cart. You know what a dash cart is.
Yeah, I've used both. The dash carts, first of all, are super cool, and I do prefer them to the...
Explain how a dash cart works.
It's basically a shopping cart, but the bottom of the cart, like where you would normally put your crap, is scale. And then there's 3 barcode readers and a touch screen. So you scan the product as you put it in the cart, and then it weighs the product to sort of match what you scan. So if you put in 3 bags of pasta and only scan 1, it will alert, and then you just update the quantity to 3, and away you keep going. Yeah. The great part is there's no checkout. When you leave, you just walk out. Basically, if somebody comes over to check to make sure you didn't buy any booze and that you're of age, and then you walk out. So it's super cool. It's way better than going to a regular, Ralph's or Vons or whatever. But the Amazon Go was way cooler.
It was just the best.
Because you just grab shit. It's like supermarket sweep. You just grab stuff and throw it in your cart and then run out the door. And it's always fun to do it with a little bit of pizzazz. Like when I run out the door, I'm just like, yeah, you can't get me. And then you just run out. And they're like, so that's how it works.
That's what this is.
Sort of like remember the old SNL commercial they did on it that was fucking hysterical. Sort of my own version of that.
Alexa, search Amazon Go store Black Man Trap.
Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
This is a damn trap.
I think the little stores keep it.
Okay.
Like the corner stores are keeping the Amazon Go. I think it's like the big, like the Amazon Freshes and the Whole Foods that they're pulling it out of.
I have to tell you, at the Mamba Center, there's just nothing better because you are going out, you're leaving the game, and the game's going to restart in 2 seconds. You don't want to miss anything. So you fly in through that place, you bolt out with your stuff, and magically you get billed. And every time I've done it, it bills me the exact correct amount. Yep. And my thinking was, if it ever got a few wrong or whatever, the costs of not having a checkout person probably more than pay for the few articles that they get wrong.
Yeah.
I've never had one get anything wrong with me. And I just love the fact that I get back to my seat so fast.
As a technologist, I do actively try to screw with this thing, so I may be part of the problem of why they canceled it.
You're the guy.
The only times I've really had it screw up, though, really are with my kids. My kids will go in, and they'll just grab stuff from random places, put it in the cart, put it back.
Sure.
And I would say it gets 95% of that right. Every now and again, it'll miss something. Like they'll grab 2 gallons of milk, and it'll catch 1 or something like that. Yeah. But it's pretty rare that it misses that. I mean, for the most part, it works really well. They sold the dream of this is all AI and video processing. In this article that I'll link to in the show notes, they talk about how there's a whole bunch of folks sitting in India watching videos behind it.
Backstage.
Yeah, I think that's a little misleading. I think what they're doing is probably catching the things the AI misses. Like if the AI can't get confidence that you grabbed cherry Coke or regular Coke, it passes it off to a human operator to go in and figure it out. But I still think it's a great service, and I hope that it sticks around in some form.
I think in a place like the Mamba Center where you go in those snack bars, what do they have, 20 snacks?
Sure.
And
it's perfect there. It's
10
great
different kinds of beverages. There's just such a small number of products.
Yeah.
I think it probably just could not work any better. And I really hope they keep it there because it's wonderful.
We went to the Forum to see, it was like the Eagles with Steely Dan. And right after I woke up, after Steely Dan played, I went out to, it was hard. It was really hard.
I like Steely Dan.
I do. They didn't play Deacon Blues, and I'm still grumpy about it.
They never do.
Get back to that. Apparently they never do.
At least, frequently enough that I noticed it.
Why not?
I have no idea.
They had one of the Amazon Goes, but in a pop-up. It was like a pop-up tent. It wasn't even like a fixed location like at the Crypto Staple FTX Center. It was just a little like tent pop-up. It was super cool.
FTX Center.
I don't know what the fuck it's called these days. The SBF 25 Years to Life Center. Did they change the name
Miami Stadium, I think, was called FTX.
Now it's called 25 Years to Life. So we should spend $10 million to just rename it that as a joke. What a great gag. Come on, Elon. I know you listen. I hope this is not the end of Amazon Go. I'll keep hoping. There's been this trend now where folks are talking about, and some stores some chains have eliminated self-checkout entirely, which is really terrible because...
Jay Chandrasekhar is going to be happy about this.
Why? Because he's anti-robot, right?
He hated self-checkout.
Did he hate self-checkout?
He was like, that's taking a job from a human. Do you remember him saying that?
I do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Jay. This is basically the same theory of like, I throw litter on the ground because it keeps someone employed. And I'm like, I want to strangle you with my fucking hands. How's that for staying employed?
Well, no, remember what he did like was the sex robot. That was the kind of robot
that one is okay.
He was in favor of.
Yeah. Yeah. Until they unionize and there's a Robot 2 movement against him.
Exactly.
For
Robot 2.
Yeah. We'll see how that works for you, Jay. Those things are becoming self-aware.
Apple would not let Jon Stewart interview FTC Chair Lena Khan.
Yeah.
TV show host claims.
This is super interesting.
Before the cancellation of the problem with Jon Stewart on Apple TV Plus, Apple forbade the inclusion of Federal Trade Commission Chair Lena Khan as a guest and steered the show away from confronting issues related to artificial intelligence, according to Jon Stewart. Now, Lena Khan is the one who's brought suit against Apple. They probably knew that was coming.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get them wanting to not poke the bear, but it turns out...
They were pissed at her.
Sure.
And they knew what was coming, right?
Yeah, they didn't want to give her a platform. Yeah, I mean, I also kind of believe, how do you think the problem would have showcased that? Or probably, could you imagine if like on Apple TV, it was an anti-Apple ad, basically,
That's
that
awesome.
piece ends up airing as? Like, I'm surprised they haven't canceled us. Like, you can still get us on iOS. I'm sure that's coming to an end soon.
We are pretty good about
You shill for the
good
Apple
and the
TV.
bad.
It's everything else you throw into the box.
I shill hard for the Apple TV because they make really good shows.
All the shit that makes money, you're just like, that's great, but everything else is terrible. And they should be fined by the EU. I'm like, all right, well, Jeff's getting canceled.
Okay, enough with the headlines. Up next, we're going to talk about more headlines.
I think you mean not enough with the headlines, and let's do more headlines, and it's a headlines-only episode.
Apparently not enough.
Isn't next week a headlines-only episode, too? Are we doing 2 headlines-only episodes? One's just longer than the other?
These are some headlines that we didn't cover the first time around, and they turned out to be important stories. So we're going to go back and revisit them.
How far back are we going? Are we going back to like the Magna Carta? Like, where are we starting?
I'm begging you, push this button here.
First story, Magna Carta. Got it.
We try in the headline segment to talk about what's going on in the news, the important things that are going, and we just barely, and sometimes like last week, I think we just talked about Apple being sued by the DOJ.
Yep.
Or something like that. The US versus Apple suit.
Yep.
So we miss a lot of stuff. I want to do a catch-up session, if you're okay with that, and cover some of the news stories that I think are important that we just were never able to get around to.
Yeah, sure. So where do you want to start? Christopher Columbus discovering the New World?
You're like a fine classical composer doing variations on a theme.
Rival Amerigo Vespucci.
I want to start with hackers who stole
Okay.
Russian prisoner database to avenge the death of Navalny, which I love because anything to help
Sure.
avenge the death of Navalny makes me very happy.
I do feel like if we had a band, it would be called Russian Prisoner Database. RPD.
What kind of music would we play?
I have no idea, but it would all be very binary.
I'm 100% in when you're ready.
Okay, I'll work on singing. I love this story. So I'm presuming these are obviously Russian sympathetic and or Russian hackers that did this, right?
Russian expats and I
Sure.
think probably Ukrainians. I mean, they're probably hackers from all over the world. There's no way of really knowing.
Yeah, of course. They don't. It's not like they tell you on the way out.
No.
They don't plant a flag. Oh, sometimes they do.
They put a picture of Navalny right
Yeah.
after he was killed
Yeah.
on a prison contractor's website,
Yeah.
right on the front of it, and basically said, "Long live Alexei Navalny." I don't know
Yeah.
if it read in Russian or what it read, but
Sure.
in any case, it was a picture of Navalny and his wife, which is pretty great.
Didn't they also like get into the vending machine and change all the prices on the vending machine as well?
Well, there is a program at the Russian prisons where you can, as family members, you can put money into an account so that your relative who's in prison can buy food.
Yep.
And what normally might be $1 for a can of beef or whatever,
Oh.
they changed all of the pricing down to 1 ruble, which is roughly 1 penny.
Sure.
And that took them a handful of days to fix.
Oh, just thinking about the can of beef now. Like, oh.
That's gross.
Yeah, this is. I mean, probably not white hats doing this, but this makes me feel good about
Pretty close, though.
Yeah, black hats doing white hat things.
Yeah, I'm not sad about this hacking.
Sure.
Probably wasn't even hard to
Yeah.
break in, knowing, Russian infrastructure probably wasn't even difficult to get in.
Well, I know how to convert 123 from English to Russian. I know how to convert password. If only there was like a translate service run by a large search engine.
That would be handy, wouldn't it?
Their passwords are all Sputnik 1970. That's all their passwords. Same thing.
The database that they stole from the Russian contractor has hundreds of thousands of Russian prisoners
Yep.
and their relatives and contacts, including data held on prisoners in the Arctic penal colony where Navalny died on February 16th. The hackers, who say they are a mix of nationalities, are posting this in the hopes that somebody can contact them and help them understand what happened to Navalny.
Do you think we could have those guys open for us when we do our first set?
I don't know if they play. They may just hack.
No, the Arctic Penal Colony. I want those guys to open for us. I think that should be the opening band. I have no idea why I'm stuck on this, but this is kind of fantastic, and I hope this happens more often. I don't know if I should say that or not.
I know, but it's kind of cool.
No, it's not kind of cool. It's super cool.
Climate activists dragged out of a New York auto show after tossing oil on an EV.
Yeah, they said it doesn't go in there, is what they said. That's not. He was trying to do an oil change. The guy was just trying to do service.
They were just confused. They were trying to help out.
I can't find the goddamn fill up. He just threw it on the top. Yeah.
A group of climate change activists poured quarts of oil on the floor and on vehicles at opening day of the New York International Auto Show on Saturday morning. In an unusual twist, the protesters were speaking out against electric vehicles and really all cars.
Yeah, that was their point was really not about EVs per se. It was about all cars, and that just making more cars isn't the answer. Like, we need a more systematic solution, which I generally agree with.
Sure. California high-speed rail. I'll tell you right now the answer.
Oh, Christ, here we go with the rail again. Fuck, I thought we were clear of that.
So much more efficient.
I loved one of the quotes from one of the protesters.
The protesting group is called Extinction Rebellion, which is a UK-based activist
Extinction Rebellion. Australian, yeah. Their statement was that they're not protesting car lovers or driving hobbyists, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
And instead, they're protesting because of those that are forced to drive because of car-dependent infrastructure, where we haven't expanded sort of mass transit. And they're being told that they can help solve climate change by switching to an electric vehicle.
By the way, they're not wrong.
Yeah, they're not wrong. Exactly.
Electric vehicles won't solve climate change.
It's a help, I suspect, right? It's a step in the right direction.
Step in the right direction.
But being more systemic, which having more high-speed rail in California would really solve that problem. My God, I hope he stops talking about high-speed rail at some point. I'm just curious, who pays you more? Tim Cook for Apple TV or the California government for high-speed rail? Because you shill for these two things.
None of them pay me a dime.
I just can't wait until the rail's installed and then all you do is watch Apple TV on high-speed rail going back and forth to Sacramento. That's all
I would
you
have
do.
no problem with that. I'm going to use it for recreational purposes by that age.
I could see
won't be going anywhere.
This vaguely reminds me of the time that I was very close to, when I used to travel a lot, to getting my companion status. I was short like 3 segments at the end of the year, and I just booked 4 segments ultimately from
just to cross the number.
LA to Vegas back to LA because it was the shortest, cheapest segment.
Sure.
And I was just flying back and forth like a fucking idiot, just wasting fuel. By the 4th segment, they're like, companion pass. I was like, yep, trying to make it.
We know.
God, it was so dumb.
We see this all the time.
Look, I don't love them making a mess that some poor set of janitors have to clean up. Like, that sucks. Just sucks for those.
But that's how they draw attention to what they're
that's
saying.
how they draw attention
That's
to what
all.
they're saying. And like I said, I don't think they're wrong.
It just is ironic that they're putting oil on an electric car.
Yeah, exactly. Well, first of all, you bought the fucking oil, right, guys? Could you bought something more organic? Like, I don't know. You use like vegetable oil or something? Why are you using motor oil? Anyway, you're going to have to pry my internal combustion engine out of my cold, dead hands.
You're still a fan. You're a big fan of the internal combustion.
I know I'm a dinosaur. I know I'm the farmer who's staying on his horse.
No, the dinosaur got used up to make your internal combustion engine work.
Yes, and that's how I know that there'll be this like
Probably wasn't dinosaur.
me eating my tail. It's plankton.
Yeah, it's
algae.
probably plankton.
Yeah. That's
Probably
that.
not dinosaurs.
Nobody likes that story where you're just like,
I
oh,
know.
pumping all those
Such a letdown.
dead plankton into your car. It's not nearly as exciting.
Google Messages warning for all users as radical update launches. From Google Hangouts to Google Allo to Google Messages, Alphabet has been trying to help people text for years. Now they want to add an AI twist.
Okay.
Gemini has now started to hit Google Messages.
Okay.
And so they put up a big warning when you enable this thing.
Yeah.
Let me just explain. If you and I are chatting about, hey, we should go get a pizza right now.
Sure.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
The AI can tell us where the closest pizza stores are or where the pizza stores are that in the past you and I have said that we've liked.
Okay, we call them pizzerias, but you can call them pizza stores. That's fine.
Whatever you want to call it. But
Tomato.
But the AI does add something of value easily to the conversation. It can answer our questions if we don't know, how many 3-pointers did Wilt Chamberlain shoot? Well, none, because there was no 3-point line back then.
I didn't know that. Is that true?
It can spit back information that is useful in the course of the conversation. However, that chatbot is not secure.
Yeah.
So Google has now very secure text messaging. They've adopted pretty much the Signal protocol, which is wonderful.
Okay.
I was always concerned Signal was going to eventually just go away.
Sure.
Because Brian Acton was going to get tired of writing checks for something that wasn't making money.
Sure.
And then you wouldn't have Signal. But they put it into the Google Messenger system, and now you have like the world's most secure texting system, which you then have to turn off if you want to get access to the AI.
You said pretty much. Are there parts of the protocol they didn't support?
It's a moving target.
Meaning the protocol is continuously improving.
The protocol is continually improving.
That's what you want.
And there's some extraordinarily smart people who are thinking about this literally like every day. It's their job.
Sure.
And so it's continually improving. But they did put in a version of the protocol, which is like, good on them. You have made really, really secure texting.
Yeah.
I can use that with my friends who have Android phones, and we text completely securely. It's really remarkable that they've chosen to do that. Good on them. The point is, if you turn on the AI stuff, you no longer have that end-to-end encryption because obviously the AI is happening at the server, and so the server can see exactly what you're talking about.
Should we just coin a new phrase of end-to-end to AI encryption?
It's no longer end.
How does that work?
This is something we need to work on in our language because our language doesn't adequately tell this story.
Okay. This is where you want to start? Not I before E except after C? Because that's where I'd like to fucking start.
Okay, we can start there if you wanted to. I'm just going to say that if Alice and Bob are having a conversation and they're having it in English and Eve in the middle can hear everything, it's unencrypted, right?
Sure.
But now if Alice and Bob are speaking in French and Eve doesn't speak French, sort of that conversation is now encrypted.
Okay.
Eve just goes and finds somebody who speaks French and now she can know what they're saying.
Pierre.
Basic encryption.
Sure.
End-to-end encryption is we're now speaking in something that Eve can't go and get.
Pierre can't help her.
Can ever find out what is being said. That's true end-to-end encryption.
Sure.
It's not really end-to-end encryption when we're speaking French just because Eve doesn't at the moment speak French.
Yes, I agree.
So we need to be careful with that. I think that term ought to denote that if anyone else has a key to decrypt the messages being sent from Alice to Bob, we really don't truly have end-to-end encryption.
So we're 70 episodes in and finally we 100% agree on something. We should just abolish French.
Okay. Well, I hadn't thought of that, but now that you say
Are we
it,
not on the same page here? Because I feel like that's what you were getting at. Is like French, we just don't need it anymore.
I actually like the French language.
Really?
I think it's mostly lovely.
I do
yeah.
like to hear it. It is lovely to hear.
When you're in Paris and you're hearing someone speak French, it's just the greatest.
I like the angry French. I like when the French are angry at Americans because they are a really pissed off angry and they have zero patience, and that just makes me giggle.
Well, we live next to a couple who speaks Farsi.
Okay, like French but different.
And I'm sure they're screaming, I love you, my dearest,
Doesn't
truly.
sound like that.
And it sounds like they're going to kill each other, literally just because of the language, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let me finish off the messages with Gemini inside of the point is, when you get, if you have an Android phone in messages, your turn comes that you get, because the rollout is happening now. If you get Gemini in messages, make sure you check your settings so that you are intentionally choosing whether or not you're sending encrypted messages or messages that can use Gemini.
Well, yeah, if you want to use Gemini, right now there's no option.
You can't do both.
Sure.
Right, you can't do both.
But I'm looking forward to this, especially when I say, hey, Jeff, do you want to get a pizza? And then you ask Gemini for a, quote, pizza store, and it then tells you the nearest one is Taco Bell. I can't wait for this all to go down. And we're like, fuck.
Because it hallucinates?
Totally.
It's not even going to be that good. It's not going to be Taco Bell. It's going to be like Ace Hardware.
Totally. Yeah, right? Like, oh, we thought you wanted a pizza oven. Like, no.
We thought you wanted to see art at MoMA.
Yeah, totally. I also like if it just always sends you to Costco. Like, this is the cheapest pizza option we could find. I think this is really interesting. I do think there is a world where we will have AI chatbots and we don't have to forego security. It sounds like that world is not here yet.
Eventually, you'll be able to put the AI on your phone.
You'll be able to run it locally. Yeah, that's my presumption.
Right now, it's such a RamHog that's not really an option. But they do have a nano model of their AI, and it's theoretically for using locally like that. But I don't think phones are quite at that point where they can take advantage.
Could you do me a favor? Could you just say RamHog again, but say it a little slower?
Shouldn't that be like the name of a Dodge truck? The Dodge RamHog.
It's a truck made for fat people. You might want to run this by the marketing department for you. The seats are wider for you, the RamHog. No, I don't think that's what we're going for.
In conclusion, Google has done a really good thing by waving their hands wildly and saying,
I'm glad they're telling you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Up front. This is, if you're talking to the chat bot, you're not talking in an encrypted way. And it's good that they're saying that loud.
Have you screwed on some of these chatbots and asked them things like, what's Wilt Chamberlain's ERA, just to see what it does? Because that's really fun.
Actually, I haven't.
Well, he didn't have an ERA.
He probably did in high school.
Oh, interesting.
Because a lot of those guys played multiple sports.
That's true. So maybe I have gotten more valuable answers. I just think it's giggly when you give them the wrong context.
Sam Bankman-Fried was sentenced to 25 years in prison for perpetuating one of the biggest financial frauds in history.
They gave him the Madoff cell?
It was vacant. Yeah, it was available.
Jeez. Too soon? No, probably not. No, it's okay.
Now he says that he's haunted every day by what was lost. I never thought what I was doing was illegal. Bankman-Fried, the founder and former CEO of the collapsed crypto exchange FTX, said in an email interview with ABC News.
I'm haunted every day by what was lost or by what you lost. First of all, it wasn't like you just dropped a bottle into the ocean and it floated away and you're like,
it's not like it happened by chance.
I lost my bottle with $11 billion in it and I forgot to put the air tag in it. Like, that's not what happened.
I forgot to put the air tag in it. That's
right.
He kept the balance sheet on half a piece of paper.
Yeah. Well, what could go wrong?
So maybe that was not.
Maybe he should have used a whole sheet of paper, and not that shitty European A4. I'm talking good old American 8.5 by 11, both sides. That's what he should have done.
And that would have solved his problems. He tried to hold himself. He says, I tried to hold myself to a high standard, and I certainly didn't meet that standard.
Okay.
No, I guess you didn't.
Look, even the little people of America know that this was not a fucking high standard you held yourself to.
Right.
Right.
By the way, you put your headquarters in the Bahamas. What did you think you were doing? You didn't do that by chance.
You know what's a red flag for the investigators being like, the Bay Area is not as nice as we thought. I know we're in Berkeley, but the Bahamas looks real fucking nice.
His entire family lives in the Bay Area. It makes sense that he would be there, but no.
Bay Area, Bahamas, same letter. I never got out of the BAs. I stayed in that area. No, that's mildly concerning. From what I can tell, SBF is not a dumb human. He is a smart human being. And I would argue any smart human being who is, less than 50 or 60 years old knows that the first thing to do, yes, I'm excluding you, knows that the first thing to do when they come up with a problem is to just fucking Google it. And I'm pretty sure if you Googled, is it okay for me to transfer, customers' deposits to my rando, highly leveraged trading arm run by my ex-girlfriend, the answer would be no. So I don't think you tried very hard, Sam. Come on.
But Gemini hallucinates and might have said yes.
Okay. So that should have been his defense, that they were using Gemini 4 years before it came out, and that they asked it questions, and it's like, not my fault. The AI told me to do this.
He might have been using a very early version.
That's what it did, and then it put a sixth finger on my picture.
The end of the story is that depositors may get 100 cents on the dollar back, but investors certainly won't. Employees certainly got.
Well, there's some loans in there too, right?
Debtors,
Yeah.
yes, debtors will get crushed.
So I looked at this briefly about the $11 billion, right? So this is a forfeiture, which SBF cannot get rid of by filing for bankruptcy. Forfeiture.
Back up.
Oh,
Sam Bankman-Fried has to repay $11 billion.
yeah. Yeah, sorry.
That's the next step in the story.
Yeah,
We just missed that part. The judge ordered Sam Bankman-Fried to repay more than $11 billion, and he doesn't have anything close to that.
Of course. Now, what's interesting about this is I looked at the breakdown of this forfeiture. It said $8 billion of it is profit he took out of the company.
Oh, my.
Now, where he put that, who fucking knows, right? Like $8 billion isn't just like Brewster's Millions money, right? You don't just shove that into your mattress.
He gave a lot of it away.
Which I think was I'm not trying
He
to
made political donations. He did all sorts of things.
Not trying to read too much into this guy's mind, but like there seems to be a reasonable thread between I'm doing something bad, I'm going to go do something really nice.
I'm Robin Hood.
Yeah, I'm Robin Hood. So, and then there was like a couple billion dollars in loans, a couple $1 billion in equity that he raised on false pretenses. So like they went for it, right? The prosecutors weren't holding back. I think they went for it.
And you can't discharge this debt in
bankruptcy.
In bankruptcy.
Yeah.
It stays forever. He will never be out of debt. He will never.
Well, no, that's not true. He does 25 years. He comes out.
You think he's got some time to make
the next scam, whatever that is. So I'm sure whatever he'll do from his prison cell. I heard
it's got to be much more profitable.
Well, I mean, imagine what if he came up with a social media platform that made like $6 million a year? He could float that thing for $15 billion, no problem.
That would be huge.
Yeah, that would be huge.
$4.1 million.
Not possible. You couldn't do that.
Not even $6.
No, couldn't even do that.
Should we skip to that story? Let's tell that story. So
you want to?
People know what we're talking about. Yeah, might as well.
Sure.
Trump's media company, it lost $58 million in 2023.
Yeah.
And it's trading at these crazy numbers. Although as of Monday, I think it was down like 22% just on Monday.
Yeah, that's a big slider.
Trump Media said it lost $58.2 million in 2023 compared to the profit of $50.5 million in 2022. They're going the wrong direction.
I understand valuations that aren't related to revenue. I've been around early stage companies my entire life. I get it.
I have yet to understand that, but I'm going to believe you.
Well, because there's a hope and a dream, right? You go, well, if we pivot to the this and the that, or we expand into this.
I'm not putting my actual hard-earned money down on a hope and a dream, but okay.
Well, you're placing a bet. But if you want, 200x upside, you're placing a bet. That's what you're doing.
I work very hard at not gambling when I invest, but that's a story for another day.
I don't know where that is with truth. I don't know what else you can get. You're not. Yeah. It's not new tech, right? It's recycled old tech. So you have an audience, maybe?
You're hoping they can put together an audience, yeah.
But I don't know what.
We're hoping the shareholders are all Trump fans and they don't care. This is just a way to get money to Trump.
But how do you get from sub $5 million revenue into something that approaches an $11 billion valuation?
You can't. It makes no sense.
Like let's just use like a high number of a 10x multiple. You need to be doing $1 billion. You need a 200x growth just to get to the current valuation.
It's never going to happen.
I don't see a world that you get to on that ever.
And Trump can't sell any of his shares or borrow against them for 6 months. He's in lockup. Now, the board could waive that lockup, and then they get a ton of shareholder suits.
Sure.
If things stand as they are now, there's nothing he can do to... The stock will be worthless by the time he can do anything.
I feel like there's a bunch of really smart people playing rubes in this over the next 6 months before all this equity gets dumped on the market, and they're just going to suck as much value out of it as they can. And that they may have all pulled the sell trigger too soon, and that's what happened on Monday.
By the way, after you drop 10%, you get a mandatory stop.
Yeah, which I've always found fascinating.
You stop trading.
Do you get a mandatory stop if you go up more than 10%? Nope. Just keep on climbing.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Really?
Yes, you do. Absolutely, you do. Both ways you get a stop.
Oh, well, that's exactly what I was saying. Circuit breakers for individual securities are triggered whether prices move up or down.
They just are assuming something broke.
Something either broke or something super volatile. Like, let's just make sure everything's okay.
What they don't want to have is their actual machinery has somehow created an error that they're liable for.
Interesting.
How long are they shut down for? How long are they stopped for?
It depends if it's a tier 1, tier 2, or other security. Trading the stock will pause for 5 minutes.
Okay, so it's just 5 minutes.
The price bands are 5, 10, 20, or the lesser of 15 cents or 75%, depending on the price of the stock.
A Trump media auditor has warned that losses raise substantial doubt about the company's ability to continue.
Big surprise.
They're going to run out of money.
Hey, I'm no mathematician, but I am an auditor. And when I look at these numbers here, I don't understand how when you add together a bunch of negative numbers, that equals a positive number. Do you have to multiply by -1 at some point? Is this imaginary numbers? I don't know how this works.
Trump Media listed its largest expense for the year as interest payments totaling more than $39 million.
Yeah. Oops.
They have a big debt here, and that debt's not going to get repaid.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. There's a lot more on this story to be told.
Trump Media went public last week and gave the former president a paper net worth of around $7 billion, but Trump is barred from selling the shares he owns in the company for 6 months.
I wonder, I'm going to just check right now if griftsocial.com is available.
I'm sure it is.
Well, I'm buying it.
U.S. government in 17 states sue Amazon in landmark monopoly case, reflecting years of allegations that the e-commerce giant abused its economic dominance and harmed fair competition. The 172-page complaint alleges that Amazon unfairly promotes its own platform and services at the expense of third-party sellers who rely on the company's e-commerce marketplace for distribution.
There's a bunch of problems I have with this.
I know you think this is just good business.
Yeah, I really have a hard time, especially things that were cited. I didn't read the whole thing.
Listen to how high your voice gets when you even say, I really have a hard time.
Is that my tell?
Yeah.
I feel like Amazon's response should be just to give these 17 AGs free Prime for a couple years, and that would just shut them up. And
they'd go away.
That's
Sure,
what
they'd
I
just be
think,
done.
But I'm
Absolutely.
no negotiator.
$129 I pay, and I get free shipping for the whole year. You know how much I would pay in shipping?
Exactly.
If I didn't use
like,
Prime?
forget about the merits.
It's no wonder the whole earth is a Prime member.
Yeah, they have like 230 million subscribers to Prime. I think it's $140 a year, which is nuts.
What, $40 billion just in Prime revenue?
It's $40 billion
Yeah.
in revenue, just in subscription revenue, right? Which is nuts. I'm constantly frustrated by this because it's allowed a more efficient service. It's completely changed the way that I consume
Sure.
items, right? Most people, it's changed the way they consume items. It seems to be a giant success. I'm talking about the Prime program itself.
Oh, I think it is.
Part of what was cited in this complaint, which by the way, Amazon did itself no favors. This like 172-page complaint that was filed against them. They made a Kindle copy of it to sell back to the judges for $3 each.
Is that right?
So they wanted to get it. They had to pay Amazon. Yeah, I think that's how it worked.
These guys are really mercenary.
I had a Kindle joke on my bingo card for this episode.
Did you?
So it's hard. I had to work that in somewhere. So they're bitching about how sellers are like, oh, we have to use your infrastructure if we want to get on Prime. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Their infrastructure is what allows you to get this stuff anywhere on the planet effectively in 2 days. So you have to use infrastructure. You have to pay for those logistics.
The infrastructure is expensive. The costs, if you were an Amazon seller in 2011 versus, even 2021, the difference in your cost that you were paying Amazon is vast.
But there's still shit out there that I have to purchase that doesn't exist on Amazon. For example, my kids busted one of the things on their little wagon, little push button.
Yeah.
Okay, I contact the company. They sell a replacement part. It's a 30-cent piece of plastic with a spring. They sell it for $5.
Yeah.
Fine. Happy to pay that markup. Shipping is like $15 for this one little thing. Why?
Can't you have it just mailed to you in first class mail? It's got to weigh nothing.
It does weigh nothing, and it would literally fit in an envelope. The problem, I think, is their logistics are everything go into box.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter what it is. They put it in a box and they fucking ship it, which is how early, like, go back 20 years on the internet. That's how
It's how the cavemen did
it's
it.
how all of our logistics worked, right? Like,
I understand.
You didn't have a better path, and it comes from, fucking Maryland, so it's going to take typically 6 days, plus they're missing a bridge, so it's going to be like 6 days plus 3 weeks to get to me. It's a long fucking time. Now, if this company had just given the shit to Amazon and pay whatever their park fee is to park up a pallets, I'd have it in 2 days.
But they wouldn't get the $5 markup they got on the box, the one price ships all box.
My hunch is this company in particular gives zero fucks about the markup on the shipping, right?
Oh, really? You just think they don't?
Yeah.
Shipping can be a profit center for many companies.
Of course, and is. I think with these guys, it probably isn't, right? I think this is more of a service. Now, interesting, last week, I had to buy a very specific part for a modification I wanted to do on my truck before our road trip. And I found a company that made exactly what I wanted, but they're based in New Jersey. Same problem, shipping, yada, yada. However, I noticed they said, all our parts are listed on Amazon. Same price,
but
buy it
no
through
shipping.
Amazon, goes through the fulfillment network, no shipping. And I got it in 2 days. Right? Lovely. That's the way it should be. Like, I can buy it from you directly. I can buy it from the same price online. Everybody's happy. Everybody wins. That was lovely.
Here's the FTC's problem.
Oh, boy.
Now nobody can compete with Amazon because they've done their job so well. You basically can't
This
compete
is my point.
with Amazon.
It's like so what is Amazon supposed to do? Are they supposed to be like, we're going to add some random, like spin the wheel and every fifth person gets 8-day shipping? like just to give some other guy the chance? Like, what are they supposed to do? I don't understand.
If you think about the efficiency of large warehouses,
sure,
scale is really important.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of the problem is they're promoting their own products above other people who they carry, and they get the data from the like if I sell sweatshirts, Amazon gets all the data about how many sweatshirts I sell, the sizes I sell them, and what moves, what colors move. They get all that information.
We should make some more sweaters.
And now they go into the business of making sweatshirts, and they've got all that data that they can use to compete with me and outdo whatever it is I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay.
That's part of the problem.
Is that bad? I mean, isn't this what Costco does? Like, I buy a lot of dish soap.
Your voice goes up that high.
Costco goes,
is that bad?
Costco goes,
seriously,
I can't even do it on command. I can't. There's no way I can do it on command. It just happens. You have to just annoy me enough that I get into that state, and then it just happens. Like, I go to Costco and I go, well, I can buy Dawn dish soap for $12, or I can buy the Costco brand in the same bottle made by the same company for $7.
Yeah, in many cases it is made by the same company. You go to Trader Joe's, the products all look like they come from Trader Joe's. They all come from the same companies as your regular stores.
Is that unfair competition? I don't like what? So it's from Costco. So because I buy it from Costco and I don't buy it from Ralph's, is that like, does Ralph's have a disadvantage? But I guess enough people aren't Costco members that Ralph still sells some Dawn dish soap, so then it's okay. I truly struggle trying to understand what Amazon needs to do differently. It's like, you're too good in all categories. Like, be shitty at sweatshirt selling. Like, is that the answer? Like, really? They go, well, and then like in the filing, they're like, well, we're terrible at sweatshirts. Like, is that enough? Like, what? But then that's a negative consumer experience.
The lawsuit against Google is very similar.
Another one.
Lines.
Is this like the lawsuit episode? All right.
Well, yeah, we had done the Apple one. I thought it was only fair that we mentioned Amazon and Google. And Google basically has a monopoly in the search engine business. They put their own products at the top of the search when you search for things. At least that's what they're being accused of doing.
Okay. I don't.
No ethical dilemma for you.
I haven't actually seen this. I do shop for a lot of products. I consume a lot of random shit, and I do go through Google for a lot of it to see if there's a better price than Amazon.
Sure.
And the 5% of the time that there is, I follow those paths, and I'm not buying it from Google. I'm buying it from somebody else that Google maybe got a click through for me on.
Yeah, sure.
Where has that been anti-consumer? Right? Like where?
It's not anti-consumer. I think it's anti-competition, because basically if I own a business that sells things, I don't bid well on some keywords, I will never be heard from. I pretty much have to advertise.
Okay.
With
understand all that.
That's
now,
a monopoly.
Go back and show me where the problem is in that. What's the alternative? The fucking phone book?
Again,
are we going to go back to phone book?
Again.
What do
You're
you want
supposed
me to do?
have some...
I can't even do it. I can't even do it. Like,
oh my God, that's so funny.
Like, again, they have built a great service that you pay to get access to. Now, if Google did something like, oh, I see, you're selling something similar to ours, we're going to now charge you more or charge you a premium unfairly. Okay. That gets complicated, and I'm not a big fan of how that could tease out. They don't do that. It's an open market. You could, if you want to bid more on your sweatshirt sale on a keyword search, you bid more on it.
I don't know the answer to that. If if Amazon, if Google is pointing you towards something that is their own internal product, are they paying the exact? Because it doesn't matter what they bid; they can outbid all of you because the money just stays within Google.
Yeah. Okay.
You must, in the marketplace, you must have competition, and there is no competition in the search marketplace. Just like there's no real competition in the e-commerce marketplace.
Yeah.
And yet again, the clock is so not our friend. We have to get out of here. But before we do, have you seen or read anything good this last week?
Maybe good. I don't know. Not really good. It's interesting, though. How about interesting? Does interesting count?
I'll take it.
Have you ever heard about the Death Valley Germans?
Death Valley Germans. No, but that sounds like it'd be a good restaurant.
No, it's German food. It'd be terrible. They're good at making cars.
In Las Vegas, there used to be a German food restaurant that was spectacular.
I don't believe it.
Delicious.
So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I spent last week in Death Valley with my kids for a while. And in my research of where to go and what to do, I came across this so-called Death Valley Germans, which is what the media dubbed them.
Yeah.
This was a family of 4 tourists from Germany who went missing in Death Valley National Park, right on like the California-Nevada border, in July of 1996. And despite an intense search and rescue operation, no trace of the family was discovered. So the search was called off. In 2009, 13 years later, the remains of the 2 adult members of the family were discovered by hikers who were carefully searching sort of this area for them.
Mm-hmm.
And
where were the kids?
Someone later claimed maybe they found the results, or found the remains of the kids, but it's never been confirmed. It's a terrible story. Like, they basically went off trail. They were driving on a pass in a rental car. They didn't have supplies. It was July.
They just went on a route that looked good to them, but they should have never been on it.
It looked like a shortcut on the map. They should have never been on it. And then after being there now for 4 or 5 days last week and looking, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I know where they were. They should definitely not have been there.
Yeah.
Interestingly, where they ended up finding their remains, and where they believe they got stuck was in this area called the Mengele Pass, which is about 4,300 feet above sea level. Do you know what else the Mengele Pass is famous for?
I do happen to know this. In this case, I do happen to know it's where they found Charles Manson.
It's where they found Charles Manson, which is kind of nuts. I had no idea that he was captured there. So anyway, it's this bizarre story.
Absolutely crazy. Your tires will get destroyed because of all the volcanic rock. Is that true?
Oh yeah. When they found the rented minivan months later, 3 of the 4 tires were flat and the wheels were all damaged. So they had gotten flat tires and kept driving on it.
And kept driving.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Oh, that's a horrible story.
And if you go there, even not in summer, you want to be really prepared and safe and know what the hell you're doing, because you can get into a lot of trouble out there. It's the largest national park in the continental United States, and you can get into a lot of trouble there if you're not careful.
I'm sure.
Anyway, do you have a happier story, or are we just going with that?
Right at this moment, I wish I had anything about sunshine and roses.
Okay.
Following your story. I do not, but I do have a really good magazine article. It is a page turner. It is called Confessions of Marcus Hutchins, the hacker who saved the internet.
Oh yeah, this is a great story.
At 22, he single-handedly put a stop to the worst cyber attack the world had ever seen. Hitchens saved the internet from what was, at the time, the worst cyber attack in history, a piece of malware called WannaCry. Just as that self-propagating software had begun exploding across the planet, destroying data on hundreds of thousands of computers, it was Hutchins who had found and triggered the secret kill switch contained in its code, neutering WannaCry's global threat immediately. Then, after he'd gone to DEF CON to have a good time and be celebrated by all of these people, on the way back, he was arrested by the FBI. There's a whole crazy story that follows. Check out the Wired magazine article, The Confessions of Marcus Hutchins, the hacker who saved the internet, written by Andy Greenberg. Fascinating story in Wired magazine.
And 100% true. It's an absolute great read. You guys should all definitely check that out.
That is the episode.
Thank you for joining us for All This Nonsense, a truly terrible podcast from The Awful Company. Visit us on the web at nonsense.productions. I'm CJ Little.
I'm Jeff Parker.
If you like this program, please follow, download, subscribe, and like at Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, AntennaPod, iHeartRadio, Spotify, My Favorite Overcast, or wherever you may get your podcasts from.
Podcastindex.org. They've got a fabulous list of all the apps that use their amazing podcast index. Special thanks to our floor director, Richard Parker.
Are we a union shop now? Why is Richard here every week? All right, well, welcome to the show, Richard. I guess we're going to have you here forever. We'll be here every Thursday morning for more nonsense. Please join us. Are they really not competitive? Why is it not any competitive? What should they do? What are they supposed to do, Jeff? I don't even know how I do it. It just happens. Nailed it.